Let's see what we got going on here today. No! Whenever I see the words Netflix to create adaptation of something that I like, I always become pretty hesitant because they don't have the best track record when it comes to this stuff. Now, in fairness to Netflix, it seems like their video game adaptations of stuff have gone over much better than their anime adaptations of stuff. That's not saying much. I think recent examples would include probably The Witcher, the first season, although I believe that The Witcher, the series, is actually more based on, or I've been told, I'm not sure, I haven't seen it myself, so I can't say for sure. Somebody could correct me in the comment section below, or maybe it draws upon both. But from what I understand, the series, The Witcher, supposedly draws more on the books than it does from the games. That's what I've heard. Again, if I'm wrong, let me know in the comment section below. That's what I've heard. I haven't seen it. I've never played the game, so I can't speak to that. But that's what I've heard. The first season seemed to go over fairly well. Second season, not so much. Seemed to have a pretty big decline from what people were saying about it. Again, can't speak to it myself. I haven't seen it, but I want to check it out at some point in time. And I believe the League of Legends animated movie or whatever, I think it was an animated movie or series, seemed to do fairly well, seemed to be fairly well received. So they seem to have a better track record with that, with video game adapted stuff, but that's not saying much. So Netflix to create film adaptation of BioShock. Link is in the description below for those of you that want to read this for yourselves. I'm just going to go over it here a little bit and give some thoughts because BioShock is one of my favorite game series of all time. And it's a little concerning because it's something that you really like, but I kind of do want to see it in a movie format. Just don't know that I want Netflix to be the ones to create it, but who knows? Maybe they'll surprise me. So it says Netflix announced they will be making a film adaptation of BioShock in partnership with 2K and Take-Two Interactive. The announcement was made on Twitter with the official Netflix Geeked account tweeting, "We all make choices, but at the end, our choices make us." They added Netflix plus BioShock. Would you kindly stay tuned? Obviously a reference to the first game. In a subsequent tweet, they added Netflix, 2K, and Take-Two Interactive are partnering to produce a film adaptation of the renowned video game franchise BioShock. Netflix did not offer any details on the project, including whether or not the film would be a live-action adaptation or an animated adaptation. Like I said, we saw the animated adaptation of, I think it was League of Legends. They did something there, and it seemed to go over fairly well. And if they decide to go the route of going animated, definitely a lot more that you could do there, right? You would think that if they decide to do a full-scale movie with a lot of special effects and stuff like that, where you run the risk of making of stuff maybe not looking the best, well, depending on who you get on the project, though, of course, and how much money they're deciding to pump into it, or not. Maybe they can get a good team together to make some really cool special effects for the movie. The BioShock franchise includes BioShock, BioShock 2, and BioShock Infinite. For those of you that know, BioShock Infinite is actually a prequel to the first two. I think it's set in like the 1910s, if I'm not mistaken. As noted in the press release from Netflix, the games are set across multiple dystopian and visionary landscapes gone wrong, and the series blends sci-fi and horror to pose unique existential and societal questions that reshaped how game stories could be told, all amidst pulse-pounding action gameplay that rewards sharpshooting, clever planning, and lethal improvisation. And I think that's a fair way to describe those games. Definitely unique, more on this horror sci-fi side of first-person shooters, with interesting gameplay mechanics that were unique for it at the time, and fun games all around. I like all three of them, of course, the first one being the absolute best in my opinion. The original game was set in 1960 with players taking the role of protagonist named Jack after he survives an airplane crash and finds his way to the underwater city of Rapture that had been built by business tycoon Andrew Ryan. Okay, so it's going to get into spoilers here, so I don't want to really read that for those of you that haven't played any of the BioShock games. Highly recommend. Love those games, especially if you like FPS, if you like horror, and you also like sci-fi, more of a sci-fi setting. Really great games. Can't recommend them enough. First one, of course, is my absolute favorite. They're all solid entries, all three of them, though, in my opinion. Although some people are kind of iffy about BioShock Infinite, I still like it. Although I would say that the first one, just can't touch the first one, man. The first one is so great. And I think that there's a lot that you can do there, especially if you start from the first one, from the 1960s? Because that's the whole question now, right? Are they going to start with BioShock Infinite, which takes place in like the 1910s, or are they going to start with BioShock, the first game, which starts in the 1960s? Which that's the one I think they should start with the underwater city of Rapture. I just think it's the best place to start. There's ways that you can flesh out Jack more. You know, you could have he's obviously going to have, if they do decide to go with the first game, then Jack will obviously have spoken dialogue. They could probably flesh him out more as a character. There's a way to do this, right? Especially if they draw a lot from the source material. Of course, there's going to be things that they're going to have to add to fit it in a 1 hour and 30-minute format. You know, a game that typically takes anywhere from 5 to maybe 8 hours to beat. They have to squish that into an hour and 30-minute to 2 hour format. It's possible. I think you could do it, tell a compelling story with it. You could really just stick to the main story of that first game. And I think it's something that even casual people that have never played any of the games can enjoy, especially with the twist with Jack. And again, I won't get into that because if you haven't played the game, if you have, you already know what I'm talking about at the end. It's not like it's something that's hard to figure out. If you play through the game and you're paying attention to the recordings and all the clues that are in the game, you'll figure it out before the end of the game. But even still, it's something that you could put in the movie and it will work well for people that, again, have never played the games before. I think it's a story that you can tell to a casual audience and it'd still be good if you draw heavily from the source material. There's not much that you need to change, of course, except for certain points of dialogue and things that you would need to make the story move along fluidly in a movie time frame. So it could work. Again, the only worry here, I guess, is that Netflix is the one that's doing it, and that's always going to be an iffy for me. I don't really have a lot of faith in what they can pull off, although sometimes, look, they have surprised me before, so I'm willing to give it a chance, but I don't, I'm not going to hold my breath. I'm not going to sit here and act like, oh, it's going to be this really great thing, because they've mishandled so many things before. You just got to kind of take it in stride at this point with Netflix. I don't put a whole lot of faith in what they do. If they end up surprising me, I think that's a little bit better, because then I don't have these high expectations for what they're going to do, because I really don't. With Netflix, I never have any expectations for what they do, regardless of whether it's an adaptation of something or something they do originally. I usually don't have any kind of expectations for them, and that's usually when I'm surprised, right? That's how it was when I first saw Stranger Things, and more recently when I watched the series called Archive 81. I had no expectations. I was like, hey, that's a pretty good series. I liked it. So it's going to be kind of the same with this. I'm not going to have any kind of expectations, and I think that if the first movie does well, especially if they base it off of the first game, then maybe they'll do a trilogy, right? They'll do the trilogy of the games in each movie, and I think that's the best way to go. Just tell the story of what's in the games, because you already got really great stuff to draw from there. So let me know what you guys think about this though in the comment section below. Are you excited for it? Are you like, oh no, it's another Netflix adaptation, it's going to be terrible? Let me know. And until next time, y'all know how it goes. The hunt continues.